Hello and welcome to my presentation on pop culture and the Torah being represented in thus. My name is Janelle Legrone, and I am looking forward to sharing this presentation with you because it is something I really enjoy. One of my favorite things to be able to do at the end of a hard day is laugh for a little bit, and one of my husband and mine's chosen shows is ABC's The Goldbergs. And so I am looking forward to sharing with you the way the Torah presents itself within the Goldbergs family and their life. As we get started and I began my research, I discovered that it turns out that the Goldbergs of the 2020s are not the first Goldbergs to hit the airwaves. In 1929, the original The Goldbergs, featuring Gertrude Berg as actress and creator, was the first Jewish family to be presented in American pop culture via radio 6 nights a week, then transferring to television 20 years later. This show had some staying power. Also later became a play and a movie, and then a Broadway musical by the name of Molly. The original Goldbergs and the modern day Goldbergs really just have two things in common. That is the name, and they are both Jewish families in the storyline. The original Goldbergs has the iconic line, "You who is anybody home?" Because Molly, the matriarch of the family, liked to know what was going on. She was known as a woman with a place in every heart and a finger in every pie. This original Goldbergs was an overtly and implicitly Jewish show, sharing Jewish life in America, versus the Goldbergs of today. While being Jewish is not so implicit, there are also universal family. Some experience them, but also very much Jewish. They begin each episode with "back in the 80s" because it is a modern twist of kind of like the Wonder Years, where it is being narrated by the adult version of a child within the family, Adam F. Goldberg's. It has a nostalgic feel to it, and we learn about the matriarch, the craziness, and the shenanigans of the family. So without any further ado, allow me to introduce you. The Goldberg family of today consists of Beverly. She is the Yenta, the matriarch of the family, and mostly lovingly referred to as the smother. There is Murray, who is the father. He's the patriarch of the family, or of that their nuclear family. He is curmudgeonly and grouchy, and does his best parenting by the phrase, "Don't be a moron." Erica is their daughter. She is fiercely hormonal teenager and rebellious and musical. Barry is their middle son. He is laughable, always has his sights set high, always falling short, but picking himself back up again. Finally, we have Adam. Adam is the son. He is the one who is narrating and the creator of the show. While he has his camcorder on his shoulder, he agitates and instigates and knows all the right buttons to push to get his family's response to make for good entertainment. It has served him well as an adult. And then you have Pops, also pictured. Pops is the geriatric playboy. He is Adam's best friend, teaching him the ways of the world, and he lives with the family. So not only is he Adam's best friend, he also gives Murray direction on being a husband and a father, and Beverly as well. This family is entertaining as all get out all of the time. But there is another family that is important to the plot of this show that I would also like to introduce you to, and they are the Schwartzes. The Schwartz family consists of Lou, who is an ophthalmologist, Linda, the devoted wife and mother, Joanne, she is a brilliant and academically driven daughter. Jeff, who is their overachieving son, he is also Barry's best friend and Erica's boyfriend. So you can see how through Jeff, the Schwartz family is interwoven into much of the plot and storyline of this sitcom. Interestingly enough, these families, while representing the Torah and the Jewish faith, are also polar opposites and completely different. And this brings us to our first connection to the Torah. You can see that the Goldbergs and the Schwartzes handle life in different ways. Where the Goldbergs are crass and loud, the Schwartzes are mannerly and quiet. The Goldbergs have no boundaries whatsoever, and the Schwartzes have very firm boundaries that are to be respected. The Goldbergs are selfish and seek their own ways versus the Schwartzes, who are considerate of others. The Goldbergs seek to get by, mediocre is a-okay with them, and the Schwartzes seek to excel at every opportunity possible. The Goldbergs are conveniently devout. And then you have the Schwartzes, who are consistently devout in their faith and in the way they live their lives. In the Torah, specifically in Deuteronomy, we read in chapter 27 that when the Israel people go into the promised land, that they are to go to two mountains where the tribes will be divided. And on one mountain, they will proclaim the blessings of the Lord, and that is Mount Gerizim. And on the other mountain, they will proclaim the curses of the Lord, and that is Mount Ebal. Within these two families and the different ways they approach life and they approach their faith within their daily living, I think we see a little bit of the push and pull of God's blessings and God's curses. The Schwartzes being Mount Gerizim and the Goldbergs being Mount Ebal. There are some other ways that we see the Torah reflected as well, mostly through the matriarch of the family, Beverly Goldberg. One of the things that we have learned in our reading from Bird, in a chapter that wasn't within our assigned reading, but it's on biblical women as silent, submissive baby makers, whereas Beverly Goldberg is neither silent nor submissive. She has found her greatest fulfillment in life in the baby making business. Bird says the fruitfulness of a woman's womb determined a great deal of her status and worth, and we see this reflected in Beverly Goldberg's life. Her greatest guilt and shame trip is, I have failed as a mother to get her children to do what she wants them to do. This is her greatest calling that she is living into. We also see that within the Torah, a divine order in relationships as being the overarching story that is being told. God's relationship with God's chosen people. Divine order we see in Beverly Goldberg, not in that she is doing all of the things right by letter of the law, but that everything Beverly Goldberg does is with the sole intent of loving her family best. In Peter Haas's writing, he notes that there are multiple approaches that we can take to the Levitical laws. And there is a third approach to scripture that he suggests, in which you see great parallels for the life, the devotion that Beverly lives. And this third approach teaches the book of Leviticus, treats the book of Leviticus and the laws within as a symbolic or allegorical system that has less to do with the functioning as a prescriptive manual of sacrifice and order, and everything to do with teaching important lessons. He goes on to say that mid-19th century Orthodox Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch says that the whole offering is the offering that one gives wholeheartedly, and that is with complete devotion. And that is how Beverly Goldberg approaches her job as a mother and her calling in life, with her whole self, over the top, loud, and bedazzled, but with her whole self. We also see within the Goldberg families the theme of relationship that is so very important to the Jewish faith and that we see within the Torah. Um, Georgia Harkness says in Toward Understanding the Bible that the Bible is God's long process of working in wisdom and love with his people that constantly make the wrong choices and then come back and seek reconciliation. And we see that within the Goldbergs. The Goldberg family is grounded in their family relationship, and it is the home base that they come back to, but not until they have gone through a cycle of pushing away, of wronging the other, of seeking for their own will and what they want, and then seeking forgiveness and atonement to start the cycle all over again. Harkness also says that as we see the progression of the revelation of God to the people and his love for them, and as that relationship grows, you also find how patiently and mercifully God works with men and how human beings, weak and fallible, are pretty poor material at times, but redeemable and worthy of hope. And we see this as true in the family of the Goldbergs, who never give up on one another, who always pull out for each other in the end. But there is a roller coaster of ways that they go about it. This family is endearing and fun. And at the end of every episode, you will see that it ends with an actual clip from the home movies captured by the childhood of Adam and of his family's shenanigans. For instance, you see the picture of Adam's actual mixtape that he made for his girlfriend Dana at the time. So whatever has happened within the show isn't just fodder of a fictional imagination. It is real life that Adam F. Goldberg lived and experienced. It makes me wonder just what the Israelite people would have said if they had said back in the 80s and they told a story of their family shenanigans and how God brought them full circle back together again.